every day. I try to. So you just have to make sure you go get your stuff. Anything you missed, Google Classroom. One more thing I'm going to mention. Let me bring that up. Let me see here, grade 12. I'm going to add, if you go to Google Classroom and you go to classwork, I'm going to add an assignment. That assignment is not going to be worth anything, but I'm going to call it Ask Me a Question here. Okay, so it's always going to be at the very top of your classroom feed, classwork feed, I should say. So if you want to ask me a question, use that messenger. If you don't want to email me, right, this is maybe quicker. And you can also, if you're ever stuck on a question, you're working through it, take a snapshot with your phone, submit it as an assignment, like attach it, submit it to me, and I will receive it and be like, oh, I'll take my iPad and I will just make a note on there. You're making a mistake right here. This is where you're wrong, and then I return it to you, and you can see, right, what it is that you're doing wrong. So that's what I'm going to use to communicate back and forth. You can use email as well, but that has helped a lot of students down. COVID kind of taught me a few tricks here and there. There you go. So let's get going. I'm going to grab my highlighter. Every once in a while, it's handy to have. And have your calculators ready to go. And if you did this already, if you did this on your own time, way to go, right? Just follow along. Okay, so write the following as decimals and percent. Do not round finite decimals. Finite decimals are decimals that actually stop at one point. They don't keep going. So the calculator will be very obvious in that sense, right? So 3/4, we know that that is 0.75, right, as a decimal. 3 divided by 4. I know this is trivial, but right, look at 3/4, right? It's a fraction. So just divide it like that, you get that. If you want this as a percentage, you take that decimal and just multiply it by 100, and then you get 75%. So I'm taking it easy now, but that's a decimal, that's percentage. 5 divided by 6, right? We divide it to get the decimals, like, oh, what's happening there? We go 0.83. Watch this, right? Oh, that's a little bit hard to see. Let me just try there. Watch what I'm going to do. When it's doing that, I'm going to do this first. Like, this is what I get on my calculator. To state that as a decimal, I will round it to 2 decimals. So I will kind of cut it right there. So 0.83 would be the decimal in this case. And if I want to state it as a percentage, I multiply that by 100. So I keep this on my calculator. This is where it's a small thing, but it makes a big difference. Times 100, it's 83.33%. Okay, so see how it's different? Like it's not just 83%. You take what's on your calculator, you give me the decimal, and then you go back and you give me the percentage. If you want to get 100% on questions like these, that's how you do it. Okay. 3 divided by 32, that's a finite decimal. Okay, so we actually write down the whole thing. And I don't have to go arrow and get my other decimal. I'll just leave it like that. I just keep this and multiply that by 100 to get my percentage, 9.375%. Okay. 19 divided by 23, that's 0.826. This keeps going. So I will cut it right there. You know rounding? Remember rounding? If that number's after the second one is big 5 or greater, it bumps this up. So this is actually 83. Oops, 83. 83. Okay. I will do this because you never know, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We call that we actually round down. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 actually rounds up. And you're like, round down because the number doesn't change, right? But you're actually, the whole number, you're actually rounding down when you're doing that, okay? And then you take this number. Oh, there's somebody there. Can somebody get that door for me? 82. Hello, hello? 82 point. Just grab a seat. I'll come and see you in a bit. 82.61%. Why is it 6.1, Mr. Erickson? Because if I cut it at 2 decimals, this 8 bumps this up to a 1. So that's how you do it. Give the other ones a try. Do the exact same thing I just did. Write them both as a decimal and as a percent. Okay. I'll be with you in a bit. I won't do every single one. Okay. I won't go through every, because it's just kind of like here. I'm gonna get you going and you take the rest. Right. So 7 divided by 8. That's a finite. So leave it like that. Multiply it by 100 or shift the decimal over 2 places. That's 87.5%. 3 1/4. How would you do that? It's basically saying 3 1/4. That's what it's saying. So it's the same thing as saying 3.25. Right? So this is your decimal. And then if you multiply that by 100, you have 325%. Okay, so decimal percent. 17 1/8. Figure out what 1/8 is. That's 0.125. So you can just basically say that this is 17.125, and it's finite, meaning it stops. So you just, that's your decimal. And then when you multiply that by 100, it's 1,712.5%. You get the picture, right? 24.5. Multiply that by 100. You get 2,450%. Okay. While we're talking percent, when it comes to chances of something happening, the highest you can ever go is 100%, right? When you talk about money growth and stuff like that, then you can go over 100%, right? Because your money grew more than, or population or something changing in numbers, you can have more than 100, but probability 100%, right? 60% chance of rain means 40% chance of it not raining, right? 60 and 40 always adds up to 100. Because we are going to do probability later on. There's a big chance of that happening. Round the following to the nearest hundredth, 2 decimals. I'm curious, actually. Rounding should be a non-issue. But every time, like I used to do provincial exams, so you dodged the bullet. There's no provincial exam, but there's my exam. Which one is harder, do you think? Anyways, I marked so many exams and there were so many rounding errors at the end. You go ahead and round these. Pencil, use a pencil, round these. I'm curious to see when I go through them, will yours match my answers? Okay, so just these 2 rows here, try to round them to 2 decimals right now. If you've already done it, maybe check out what else is on that paper. But I want you to try that before I do it, because that should be a non-issue. Okay. Let's see here. So basically what I want you to think of is you're cutting it and you're removing everything behind it. So really what's happening is you're either rounding this number up or down. That's really what you're doing, right? Because if you're removing a whole bunch of digits, something is happening, right? You're saying which one is this closer to, okay? So this one is actually 1798. It just stays, nothing happens because that 4 here, right? The 4 keeps that at 8. Next, if you round it, if you cut it here, that 9 bumps this to a 5. So this is actually 0.25. Here, I draw the line. This 4 will not affect the 5, so this is actually 19.45. I go over to my next one. I cut it here. This 9 will bump this to a 9. Right? The 8 turns into a 9. So 201.99. Okay? So that's the first row. Second row. 4 are 4, right, everybody? So next, you cut it here. Now it's getting a little trickier. This 8, watch carefully, this 8 is going to bump this to a 10. So you turn this into a 0, and then it's going to turn the next one up as well. So it turns that into 2. So this is actually 1048.20. It's when you have 9s, there's a ripple effect until you have a number that isn't 9, right? That's when it stops. So I did this on purpose, right? So you cut it there, the 6 bumps this to a 10, bumps this to a 10, bumps this number to a 9. So this is 259 even. If you want to do this, that is okay. It doesn't hurt. Next, the 7 bumps this to a 10, bumps this to a 10, bumps this to a 10, next one to a 10, bumps this to a 5. So finally it stops, right? So this is actually 500.00. Last but not least, the 4 does not affect anything, so it's 789.99. A lot of students, I'm not going to say you because you might prove me wrong, would have rounded that to 790 because what is 1 cent, right? What is it? But we need to make sure we round correctly. Okay, we're good? We're doing okay? I'm not scaring you off, right? I don't think so. Next, this is very important. This is going to happen again and again. Finding a percentage of a number. In this case, it's actually a dollar amount. You notice that? So we need to turn this into a decimal. How do we do that? Yes, you divide it by 100. 3 divided by 100 is, I know it, but I'm going to show you, 0.03. So you go 0.03 of, in math, think of multiplication, $250. So you go 0.03 times 250, and you get 7.5. This is where another thing you need to keep in mind. This, the province would mark this wrong, because it's a dollar amount. Would you ever see a price like this at the store? Would they go $7.5? Be $7.50, right? So they want you to do that. They want you to, if it's a dollar amount, if it's not a dollar amount, we don't care. But if it's dollars, you need to have that 0 after it. Okay. Next, 2.75. Watch this. You need to get rid of that percentage. So you need to divide it by 100. Right? So you go here, divide it by 100 to get rid of that percentage. And then it's a really small number, but that's okay. And then we're going to multiply that by 2,550 cents. That's right. So you go ahead and do that. So you get 68.76. Final answer, round to 2 decimals. So that's 68.76. And I actually like to circle my final answers. Okay. Try the next couple. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Notice that there's people, so they're going to have to round accordingly. The last, like E here, your answer has to be rounded to the nearest what? Whole number. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and you can just look up and watch for the units, right? Units are very important as well. This rounds up to $5.74 because the 7 bumps the 3. And then we have, oh, what? 2 3/4. I can't handle this, Mr. Erickson. 2.75%, that's what that is. Which if you turn that, if you divide that, it's this, right? So that's 15,536.96. So if you ever forget to divide by 100, your answer will not make sense, right? Let's just say like 10% of something, if you just go 10 times that number, you're not going to pay more than what you started off with, right? Because it's a percentage. People here, so we're going to go 0.2564 times 7850. And now I know you're all done already, and I'm just chasing, right? So that's 2112.74, which is roughly, right? We kind of say that's what my calculator says, but we're going to say this is roughly 2013 people. And if you round it to 2012, that's fine. Because this depends on what you're calculating, right? If you're saying how many students will be passing this year, if I don't quite have the 13, I would actually go down to 12, right? Just to make sure we don't have that extra person passing, right? So it depends on the scenario. Quite frankly, when it comes to this, I will not care if you're going up or down as long as you round to the whole number. Okay. Do you remember cross multiply and divide? You should have seen that quite often by now, to be honest. But I will maybe give it a little twist and do it differently. So yeah, you're going to pass the course, so no other teacher will be able to criticize my method. But this is how I do it. I look at where the variable is, and it's over here, right? So I go to the number on that side, and I multiply up, and then I divide going down. Say what? Yeah, so watch this. N is equal to 38 times 45 divided by 76. I hope you're okay with brackets. I hope I'm not scaring you off. It's just multiplying, okay? No big deal. So you show me this step. You grab your calculator, you go 38 times 45 divided by 76, and you get 22.5. And there are no units, so that's it. Hold it. Does this work? Let's check. 45 divided by 76, what is that? Let's quickly do that. We're doing a check here. 0.592, right? So what should be on the other side technically? 22.5, right? We just found what n is, which is this, divided by 38. And it better be the same. 22.5 divided by 38. You get the exact same number. See? 0.592 ... So this checks out, right? Like this method works. Okay. I don't know. Let's just, so let's try the other ones. The variable is on this side, so I have to start on this. So I go to the number. Which way do I multiply? Oops, breaking everything. Going down this way and then going up. So it's kind of like, it's like a whole journey like that. It's like a hook, right? So to find m, you go 3.95 times 95.7 divided by 124.5. Okay? And so if you have a decent calculator, this is not bad at all. So I do the tops first, equals, and I go divided by 124.5. That's 3.04. 3.04 at the end. You try one. Try this one, see if you figure that out. Just give you a minute or two before we move on. Actually, there's more on the back side, so do the back side as well. I will give you the answers in a bit, so just go ahead and do it. Don't be scared. Don't want to see, because it's important, right? Like you might be close, or you might actually get the right answer, but I do want the work to flow and to be mathematically sound. I don't want some random like number popping out of nowhere. This is the final answer, right? It's kind of like if you write an essay, you don't just give the final paragraph. You don't write the final paragraph and hand in your essay, right? You kind of have to build your case, right? So here, right, I go to the variable, I multiply, and then I divide. You don't have to do the arrow thing, right? So it's 1.25 times 0.85 divided by 19.75. So as long as you tell me what you're multiplying and what you're dividing, I'm okay with that. And then your answer here is 0.05. Okay, let's backtrack. This is what some students do. They go like this and this. Oh yeah, the whole thing is just 0.05. Like that's what a lot of students do. I don't want you to do that. Don't do a choo-choo train, right? Like equal, equal, equal. You work underneath and keep working that way, okay? Because it's actually wrong to say that this whole thing is 0.05. Only x is 0.05, not the whole thing. Okay? So you're warned. You've been warned. Okay, next page. Hey, just make sure you don't hurt yourselves, okay? Go over slowly when you fold these. Sometimes that staple kind of sticks out, and you go like this, and it's a very nasty situation to be in. So be careful with that, okay? I'm just going to walk you through here. So m, multiply these two, and I might fast forward for the rest. So this would be, let me check my answer key, 102.17. No units, so we just leave it like that. The units will change, right? Next, L is there, so we multiply there, divide there. Notice that I always show my work, right? This is 0.03. Final answer. And then K is here, so multiply there, divide there. I will do this. That's where the work would go. And your final answer is 0.51. There it is. So I need you to know the actual name for this is proportional reasoning, right? The name of when you're having two fractions with one piece missing, It's proportional reasoning, okay? You're basically saying, if this is true, right, because on this side you know both things, tell me what this would have to be so that both sides are equal to each other, right? That's basically what you're doing. All right. Next, H. If a car uses, I'm going to highlight that. If a car uses 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers driven, that is a rate, actually. 100 kilometers per hour is a rate, two different units. Determine the amount of fuel, right? The question wants to know the amount of fuel in liters, right, to drive that many kilometers. So I know in a room and this size, right, there's probably students that they have a way to do this and they just figure it out. That's fine. But I need to guide you, right? So I would say this. Start with the rate you're given. Write it down like this. 8.5 liters over 100 kilometers. You write it as a fraction. And then you put an equal sign. And you decide, they're giving me kilometers, right? They're giving me the distance. So that will go down here. Okay? This distance goes down here. So this is kind of like my unknown. X number of liters will be needed to travel that distance. And so then you go and figure out what X is. So same as before. Now there's a bunch of units there, but it doesn't matter. Kilometers match kilometers, liters match liters, so we're good. So it's 1259, show the work, okay? 1259 times 8.5 divided by 100. And then I just go, you could go equals after this, that is okay to say, but I'm just gonna go X is equal to 1259 times 8.5 divided by 100. That's 107.02. And if you put down 0.15, that is okay, all right? But by default, it's 2 decimals, your final answer. This is how many liters you would need to travel that distance. Okay? So a small, like Honda Civic, is about 8.5 per 100 kilometers on a highway, right? So if you're traveling longer distances, you can kind of predict how much you're going to need. Watch next. It costs $128.90 to purchase 3 cans of paint. How many cans can you purchase with 350 bucks? It's a little bit different, but the first thought is the same. This is a fact, right? So you start with that. Right? That many dollars for that many cans. So you say, hey, I have 350 bucks. I match dollars with dollars, right? And I ask, how many cans can I buy? So you cross multiply and divide. So it's 350 times 3 divided by 128.9. You're like, whoa, 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 where's that bracket for 350? You don't have to have it on both numbers. It's okay. And let's see what kind of hurdle we go through here. That's 8.145 ... cans. So what do I need to do there? I can't quite buy more than 8, right? I need to stop at 8. So I'll have some change, right? So 8 cans, approximately 8 cans will be able to you will be able to purchase with that amount of money. Okay, so sometimes rounding is not just decimals, sometimes it's whole numbers when you notice that the units are different. Evaluate the following expressions. Okay, here is where having a good calculator, I actually do this one to show you that having a good calculator pays off. So Let's see if you and I can do the same thing all in one shot. So I'm going to go 7 times 2.85 times 1.12 plus 2 times 19.75 times 1.07. And I get 64.61. And I'm going to do this. Why not? So that's what I got when I did it all in one shot. Now, some of you can't do it, so we have to do it in steps. So I'm going to do this first part, and then I'm going to do the second part and add them up, see if you get the same answer. So 7 times 2.85 times 1.12, that's 22.344, plus, let's clear the screen, 2 times 19.75 times 1.07, that's 42,265. I'm just going to take this number and add it to that. So I want you to be able to do it both ways, okay? They both check out, so we're doing okay. I want you to try, it's basically like a little bit like, do you know this already? You should know, you should be able to, but I want you to try these on your own, and then I'm going to go over them. And you decide how you want to do it. Do you want to do it step by step? Do you want to do it one at a time? I can tell you already that C is going to be, you have to pay attention with C. You have to pay close attention to that one to get that one right. Same with D, because it kind of, that kind of expression hope happens again. So go ahead and you can do it here, and then if you get it wrong, we'll do it correctly next to it. But just give it a try, because the risk is low. Working through this one here. There's the answer to B. And let's see how C went, right? So this is where when there's some kind of multiplication or addition happening in the denominator, you need to do that first, okay? Because watch, this is what may have happened to you. And I did this, that's why I put this in here. So it's, oh, sorry. So you would have gone 680 divided by 6.75, and then you go times 2.5, right? Because that's how you read it. This will be the wrong answer. So if you got 251.85, it's not the right answer. Instead, you need to figure out what the denominator is first. So I multiply it like that. So you kind of say that it's 680 divided by 16.875. Multiplication, right? So you need to do that first, and then you go 680 divided by 16.875. So it's 40.30 if you round it. So these examples are not just random, they're actually to test, like you remember that. So if you have brackets, watch this, guys. If you are good with brackets, you could have gone 680 divided by, I introduce the bracket and I go 6.75 times 2.5. If you do the brackets, it's going to go 680 divided by whatever the denominator is when you multiply it out. So then you actually do get that answer. So if you're good with brackets, if you have a calculator that does have them, use them, right? Okay, next. Here is that same problem again, 680 divided by, I'm going to go 35.25 times 4 in brackets. So this is 4.8227. What? Why do you use 4 decimals, Mr. Jackson? Because you're not done yet. It's not like it's the final. So I'm going to go plus 3 times 75 times 1.12. That's 252 even. So I'm just going to add that to 4.8227. And so that's 256.82. Now you can round to 2 decimals. So don't sweat it too much if you didn't get these right. It's quite normal. It's quite all right to get some of these wrong. What is it if it's a fraction times a full number? Two ways of doing that. You can go 3 times 250 and then divide by 14, or you can go 3 divided by 14 times 250. It's up to you. So I'm going to go 3 divided by 14, hit equals. Then I'm going to go times 250, and that is 53.57, but it's people, so it's approximately 54 people. I'd like it if you first write down what the calculator gives you, and then you write down the rounded value. Okay, we're almost done. I would like to do one question at least with taxes before. There's a big chance that I won't do the rest. We will dive right into our first unit. Okay, let's just do taxes here. So remember, taxes are PST and GST most of the time. They add up to 12% total, right? So if Jenna buys 3 pop drinks at $1.25 each, as well as 4 Dream Donuts for $1.50 each, we do it this way. 3 pop drinks at $1.25 each, plus 4 Dream Donuts at $1.50 each. Let's figure out what that is. That's $9.75. This is, folks, before tax. And here's where this is a life lesson. I know you might already know this. Anything you see in the store shelves and you want to know how much it is with taxes, there's a trick. You go times 1.12. You had a good teacher in grade 11. Yeah. Right. So if it's a 10% discount times 0.09, right? Because it's 90% that you're left to pay, right? Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Why am I even here? Okay, let's just give you the credit. So this is 1092, right? So this is after tax. So if you multiply something by 1.12, really what you're multiplying it by is 112%. Because you're paying 100 and the government is kind enough to add another 12% to your bill. So you're paying 112% from what you started, right? So that's where the 1.12, this is how we're gonna do taxes, okay? I'm gonna stop there. Let me see. If you're interested in trying, because I can post the answer key, I think I would just say the next page. Just that next page, this one. If you want to go through that, it goes through a Pythagorean theorem a little bit, but I will not do that because that's not the first thing we do. I will post the key and then you can check if you're on the right track. Okay.